back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
No, you're not alone, 'cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
And we're back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. I'm joined in studio today with our friends from HomeCareAssistance. Whitney McMillan is here, case manager with HomeCareAssistance. We're also joined by Dr. Paul Sugar and Dr. Marilyn Kiriasis from the Paul Sugar Palliative Support Foundation. And of course, we're talking about palliative care today. So panel, let's talk about the importance of palliative care at home, what it means, what's involved to help that dying person live out the rest of their lives with dignity and in accordance to their wishes. So I'm just wondering, where do we start and what's most important for them to know?
Well, I think one of the most important things for your listeners to know is that they need to be proactive. They need to ask for the things that they need. There are people out there who will listen. There's a large network of people to help in those situations. But you do have to speak up. People do get lost in the system. They get confused, they get desperate, and
they get panicked, they get scared.
Absolutely. And some people shrink away from it and to their own detriment. And I think that the more we expose this kind of thing, expose people to the fact that palliative care is there, that it's out there, that it can be accessed, I think that if people know that, they will ask for it. And asking is important. This is their death. And they need to ask for the help they need with that. It's one of the most important times in their lives. It's one of the most growing times of their lives. It's one of the most intimate times of their lives, and they should treat it as, they shouldn't shrink from it. They should, I wouldn't say embrace it. I'm not trying to sell terminal illnesses here, but what I'm saying is that if you get the help you need, it can be an incredibly growing experience.
And meaningful too.
Well, that would bring up what Whitney had mentioned very early in the show about helping people in this position have a sense of purposefulness.
Absolutely. The idea that at this period of time in their life that there is the opportunity for hope. And very often with a diagnosis, with this time frame that might very well be hanging on them, it is often a time to ask yourself, how do I really want to live life? And that brings up topics and questions around how do I feel I'm purposeful? How can I bring that more in? What do I want to not regret in life? So what can I do now so that there are no regrets? How can I resolve issues or complete tasks, for example, or learn things that I've been putting off doing all this time because I've been so busy with all that other stuff? And in some cases, it has to do with having closure, the opportunity to say goodbyes, the putting your house in order. I think Marilyn mentioned that earlier, and that can be the paperwork and all the processes of advanced planning and everything. But very often, it's that of the heart and the mind.
Well, that's a lot of people say, when I go, I really want to go quick. I want to get hit by a bus or I want to drop dead. But that is such a loss of opportunity.
Absolutely.
It is such a loss of valuable time in your life. And there are people who seek earlier death, and that's now available to people. But I had a patient who came into the hospital. He let me try and help him improve his symptoms, his pain, his discomfort, and give him some idea that maybe there is some help for him to prolong his life without pain, without discomfort. And he was sitting up in bed and he was eating, and he says, he told me I was a real sweet talker. Because he was hell-bent that he was going to go in the next 10 days.
And that was not the case.
That was not the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Sugar, at this foundation, how is most of your time spent? Is it sitting at a desk? Is it fielding phone calls? Is it...
Well, I don't work at the foundation very much. I work more in the hospital, in the hospice. Marilyn is the brains of the operation, and she does all the work up there. I come sometimes, and but most of my work is in hospice, hospital, community, long-term care facilities. But I found that somewhere in the order of 80% of my time is spent supporting people. And
so you're talking one-on-one with patients?
Yes, one-on-one with patients, trying to give them the time they need to determine what direction they want to take.
And what's... sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I spend the majority of my time doing that. I mean, I write prescriptions, I juggle medications, I order investigations, I do all the things that doctors are supposed to be doing. But I would say that the biggest part of my time is spent in support, and that was one of the reasons that Marilyn and I saw that as a deficiency. I have the time to give people, and that's fortunate for the people that I see, but there's lots of people that don't have that time from caregivers. They don't have that time from doctors or other people, and their lives are not as good as they can be at the end because of that.
What's one of the most important things that the patient needs to know to be able to move on towards death?
Yes, absolutely. They need to be able to have that, and sometimes you're not sitting there saying, "You're dying, I'm going to help you die." It's not. Sometimes you're saying, "Let's do the best we can do here with the time that you have." Sometimes we're saying, "What's your understanding, and how can I bring you to an idea that's somewhat realistic, but at the same time gives you, as Whitney was saying, the hope that this time is valuable, that relationships count, that maybe there is more time than you think because of some of the things that we can connect you with." Hope in those directions for people is extremely important.
You're also talking about acceptance too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the trained staff. You at HomeCareAssistance, which is a paid service.
Yes, it is.
You have a highly trained staff to help with palliative care in situations like this.
Absolutely. So our caregivers that we place with clients and families that are experiencing a palliative journey have all been extensively trained with specialties around palliative care, end-of-life care, etc. So that's their training as well as their years of experience.
They could come to you with medical degrees.
Absolutely. Many have certificates, etc. They also have the lived experience on top of that from their work experience. As well, we're looking for caregivers when they're matching, is that right match I spoke about before, because it's so important in terms of building
really
the trust. The empathy, the companionship that comes with that. There's so much trust that occurs that, as we mentioned, very often the people in this room, our caregivers, et cetera, our volunteers are hearing things that families wouldn't necessarily ever have access to. We have an honesty that arises based on the environment of such intimate sharing of this precious time. And that's where our caregivers are able to provide direct care to the clients. And that is really important in terms of the family relationship as well, because you're a daughter or a son or a nephew or niece, et cetera, an aunt and uncle. But that's a precious relationship. No one else can do that. But there are caregivers. There are trained caregivers that can be relied on. But once you, as a family member, start providing personal care to a family member, that changes the dynamic of that relationship forever. And as a result, our caregivers are able to create the space so that family members can be the family members to their loved one. And that's preciousness that can't get back. So we provide respite that allows the space for that family dynamic to run its course and to be there. And I think that's a really important thing. We've been able to have caregivers be there right to the end.
Yeah, and that's one of the important. You know, I had a lady who was a real go-getter, really strong, young woman actually, and she was someone who also said, you know, I'm done. I haven't got the energy I used to have, and I said, well, I don't know exactly how long you've got, but why don't you try? Let us have you in hospice for a while and just see how you feel about that. And she gradually settled. For the first 2 weeks, she was on the phone all the time arranging things. But after that, she settled in to the hospice. She enjoyed her peaceful, quiet time. She enjoyed her 3-year-old granddaughter coming in there and snuggling in her bed. She enjoyed ridiculous TV and all the things that she had not been doing because she was such a busy person.
Yeah.
And her daughter and her, at the end of life, were so grateful for having had that peaceful, quiet time during which she wasn't hanging the hammock.
So just sort of a gentle suggestion to get her there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's apropos to what you're saying about preserving the relationships that happen because of that.
Absolutely.
Can be preserved because you're not preoccupied with the nuts and bolts.
Absolutely. I think one of the many things that people associate palliative care with is sorrow. But together, each of us in our own ways complement each other in that we help to make this particular time for someone this is a time that can be filled with joy, peace, and heartwarming closeness for the client and their families by helping them to navigate the journey and to take the stress away so they can focus on spending the quality time together that they as a family or community really want to have. Yeah. And that lies with our roles.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
both organizations here, both the Palliative Support Foundation and HomeCareAssistance, you seem to be coming together with the very same set of values.
Yes.
I just want to add that there's a whole lot of wonderful dark humor that develops in those relationships, and it's one of the things that I enjoy so much with patients because they laugh and they start looking at death as some kind of a holiday almost.
Yeah. It's that honesty arising, isn't it?
Yes, like I can look at this and the humor is going to make it palatable for me. So
here we are today talking about a very serious subject matter of palliative care, and you've all found a way for us to smile and find a respectful sense of dignity in talking about such a vital part of life, which is death. Yeah. So in parting words today, is there anything else we should know about the foundation? What's the easiest way to contact you?
So you can call me by phone. The telephone number at the center is 778-729-1555. And that's for, anybody from the Lower Mainland or the North Shore can give us a call. Everybody's welcome through our doors, and we're here to help them in any way we can. We also have a website, palliativesupport.ca. And again, I just want to reiterate that there is a lot of help available, but it's a matter of being able to ask for what you need.
I want to say thank you to all of our guests today, and thanks for listening to Boomer Life. All of the contributions on the subject of palliative care have been extremely helpful, educational, and informative as well. Start the conversation. It's okay to talk about it. And these companies, HomeCareAssistance and Palliative Support Foundation, they want you to know that there are support services in your community to help. You are not alone on this journey. Thank you to all of our guests. We have Whitney McMillan from HomeCareAssistance. We also want to say thank you to Dr. Paul Sugar and Dr. Marilyn Cariasis from the Paul Sugar Palliative Support Foundation. And thanks for listening to Boomer Life on CL 650.